Aha! There we go. Still want to wait till the thing is done.
Wait, what?
I want to wait until the advertisement's done before I start.
Oh, that makes sense.
I've got a really handsome. Oh, guy got shot with arrow. Oh, this is the Westworld one.
Westworld? Oh,
Yeah,
the
the Westworld
commercial?
advertisement for Twitch.
Yes!
Ha! Here we go. Alrighty. Hi there, everybody. You've reached Very Good Entertainment. This is number 27. This is our political and controversial show. Who the fuck do we trust for news now? This is brought to you by goodvibes.com, the source for adult pleasure and occasionally a little bit of pain.
But with a safe word. Always with a safe word.
Always with a safe word. I am Sorcerer Zero, and I'm here with my good friend Lola Laracy. How are you, Lola?
I'm great. I'm trying to figure out, like, if Orange Rita has an ABV or anything
Yes.
coming up with us. I'm trying to find a website. Oh, it's 8%.
Well, let's hope that we're still smiling by the end of this discussion and not crying
And
into
and
our
not
beer.
and not vomiting. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm the state of affairs today makes me want to hurl.
Well, as you might have guessed from the title, Who the Fuck Do We Trust for News Now? We are talking about fake news
Right.
or the news of alternative facts.
Alternative facts, because people love that because it explains away everything they do.
Now, if you would like to know about some of the terms that we're using here, it is clearly defined in the show notes, and the show notes will be linked with the videos, and the videos will be linked in the show notes so that you can access them. They are on Google Drive. And I am going to start with a beer, but I, is Orangerita classified as a beer?
I don't know, but I don't care right now because I drank my Bell's Cow. I've already drank some wine, and I am tired, and so I just want to drink. Do you want me to open mine?
Yeah, sure.
All right, it's a
Unless you don't want to drink it right now. I mean, you can. See,
well,
they've been making more and more. Bud Light has been making more and more of these all the time, and their labels are actually becoming nicer.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little. Now I had the Ritas about 3 years ago. I had the Lima Ritas and one of the others. I don't remember. Strawberry Ritas, and I liked them fine. It was the middle of summer, and okay, let's talk about a story. I was at my boyfriend's family's house, and I was nervous because I'd never met them, and I felt like I had to be on because you always feel like you're being judged when you're at your significant other's families, and so I was just freaking out inside. And so they had an outdoor pool, and they had a huge case of strawberries and limeburitas, and I'm going to tell you what, that became my crutch. That is what got me through all the stress. I drank enough of these and I was just smiling under the umbrella and just everything was cool. So,
See, beer gets us through the hard times. Gets us through
yes,
the hard
it does.
times.
Even, is this AB Bev? It's one of the big ones.
It's Bud. It's Bud.
Budweiser.
It's not an A. I don't think it's an AB.
Okay.
But it's well, Bud. Yeah, Budweiser. Yes, it is an AB. But
Yeah,
you
it's
know what? It's I don't judge. I do not judge.
I'm
I
not
can only
judging.
judge myself on my personal values. I can't judge anybody else for what they want to drink.
Right, and they were on sale for $1 each at my grocery store, and I was like, I hadn't had the orangerita. I got the mangarita and the orangerita, and I hadn't had them, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. I just have to be careful because I do remember that drinking these too fast, like my acid reflux and all that stuff, it kind of messes
Oh,
with that.
hiccups.
No, feel like you're gonna vomit.
Oh, oh, yeah.
Feeling like
Well,
your insides are coming up.
yeah. Well, drink as slowly as you
I'm gonna
like.
drink. So I have to be
We're not in a
careful.
racing contest here.
It's
It's
not
all
a
about
contest. It's Friday
flavor.
night. Oh, I belched.
Whoa.
That helps. So if I belch a little bit, it helps because I get the gas builds up and all that stuff, and then I feel like
Yeah.
I'm gonna vomit. So as long as I can get that out, I'm getting out the old, and so I can bring in the new. So I'm opening it up. I'm not even putting it into a glass because it's a freaking orange
Well,
Rita.
I can tell everybody it's orange.
It's orange.
It's orange.
That's really all we need to know. And
Yeah.
it smells like orange. It really does. It smells like orange.
It smells like orange, not margarita. I mean,
No,
all the rest of them kind of smelled a little soda-ish to me. Like the black cherry smelled like black cherry soda.
honestly, if you put this under my nose, I would think you would open an orange.
Yeah.
They did a good job. It really smells like an orange. Like even just the like citric hardness of an orange is like, oh, it
Oh,
smells like
well,
an
not
orange.
bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, not even soda. It smells like an orange. So okay, that's harsh. Okay,
Oh, it's harsh. Oh, the face.
so
Oh my goodness.
maybe now was not the right time for this. I remember the limeritas being like really pleasant tasting, like not like alcohol. This tastes like alcohol. And
Oh, okay. Fair warning.
I don't. It may be because I still have the taste of the beer in my mouth and the wine and the sandwich, but it tastes like alcohol.
Well, switch off. Drink some water or something.
I don't have any. I have hydrogen peroxide.
No, no, don't drink that. Don't drink that.
I am Groot.
No, no hydrogen
I
peroxide.
I
Hydrogen peroxide is for hair.
I am Groot.
No,
I am Groot.
no.
I'm Groot. All right. So I guess I'm gonna switch back to wine, although I'm not sure how that'll taste at this point.
Well,
I need water here.
I've got a
You do it.
fantastic.
You do
I've
it.
got an all-star brew. I've got Funky Buddha.
Funky Buddha is the best Buddha.
Funky Buddha Hop Stimulator, double IPA.
Okay, that's some good stuff.
I love the label. Love it. It's like the hop has been turned into like a big monster and a big green like monster, and looks like superheroes are about to fly in. And
Yeah.
let's see. Oh, it's orangey. It's like a deep,
Very
deep
orangey.
amber.
Yes.
Mmm. This smells almost as juicy as the High Lie.
Cool.
Oh, lots more hops and lots more malt though.
Okay. All right.
Lots and lots.
Different. They're going for a different effect.
I'm only pouring like half of it, and I'm giving the other half to our producer because you have to feed producers.
You do.
You have to feed
They
producers
actually
because
don't take money. They
yeah.
they
Our
only
producer, the ever wonderful and knowledgeable Shadeen has made it possible for us to actually uh, go onto Twitch.
thank you, Jadine. He's helped a lot. He's spearheaded the whole thing. I mean, he's been behind the whole thing.
And now we get to the meat, the difficult part. Uh, we all know that actually finding news you can trust becomes such a difficult prospect, especially when we get news thrown at us, literally thrown at us, constantly, all day long, until I've seen so many people do this. You know what? I'm done. I'm switching off. I just don't want to hear it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
because it's so hard to tell what's true
Right.
and what's false and what's real and what's fake. And then we have our own president going, you
Mm-hmm.
know, fake news, the EPA is out to get us and destroy the American way of life. And we're all like, but scientific studies. And he's like, science is fake. And
Right.
and then you have other people saying, they're saying one thing to some people, and they're saying a totally opposite thing to another set of people.
Right.
Or
They're mis
they'll say something one week, and they'll turn around like a couple of months later and say something totally different.
Oh,
That's a favorite tactic of politicians.
that's Trump right there because I see people posting his tweets from 3 years ago where he says, "Don't go into Syria," and then he goes into Syria.
Yeah, yeah.
He just says whatever is convenient for the moment.
So I put up a you know a a bunch of things of actually on the show notes of big news companies like Fox,
Hmm.
MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Huffington Post. These are probably a lot of the major news people that you hear of. The public news that I know of is PBS, NPR, and OPB, which is Oregon Public Broadcasting. I'm sure there are other public broadcasting services across the United States. I just don't know about them.
That's okay.
Uh, Websites, like news websites. I put Google in there, but Google is really an aggregator. It picks news from across the it picks news from across the world to show to you based upon what you are interested in.
Right.
There's also the BBC, Al Jazeera, BuzzFeed. I don't know if you could actually call BuzzFeed news.
I
It's
go for
there.
entertainment. I go for entertainment, but I
Is
don't go for
BuzzFeed
news.
considered entertainment because they present themselves as a real news site?
They have the word buzz in them, so I always think they're trying
Yeah.
to grab what's the buzziest thing. So I don't.
And then, of course, you have humor, like The Onion,
Yeah.
Waterford Whispers, Cracked, and The Borowitz Report. Uh, you also have what's called yellow journalism. What I consider what is considered yellow journalism is actually like supermarket tabloids.
Mhm.
This is blatant. It's blatant, like fear mongering.
Sensationalism. Yeah.
Weekly World News,
Liza
National Enquirer,
Minnelli is,
Star.
is has gone to the hospital again. Yeah, things like that.
J Lo is seeing somebody from Mars.
Right. Fat Boy. She's seeing Fat Boy.
She's seeing Bad Boy.
That
Woman
has
gets
nothing.
pregnant. Blah blah blah. And there are like little tiny granules of truth in there, but it's
Mhm.
supposed to be. It's not really supposed to be news.
No.
It's really entertainment packaged up in this exciting rag.
They
That,
they blatantly Photoshop things.
yes,
I mean, there's nothing that you can trust on face value in
and
this.
and they regularly get sued by people.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that you read while you're on the toilet and you wipe your butt with after.
Right. Or put underneath your hamster cages.
That's right. That's right. Uh, I also put clickbait. Satire shows. Satire shows are actually
Okay.
humor. Daily Show, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Have I Got News for You in the UK, Spitting Image in the UK, and The Beaverton, which is in Canada.
Hmm.
These these are all they insist that they are entertainment. They make no bones about it. We're entertainment, but we address the news that happens. They do it in a humorous fashion.
Well, and that's fair because I've heard some of the hosts say that they're a little horrified when they think that some people get their news from them because they don't claim to be 100% factual. they're riffing on what they see on the news. They're watching just like we are. They're not, for the most part, they're not investigative journalists. Although I will say John Oliver, which is my favorite, he does go into the realm of investigative journalism because they have done a lot of pieces where he personally went and investigated things and had a whole like half-hour long show on it.
Yeah.
So he is really good at that. But it's also still opinion because he's putting his own riff on the news. And much like The Daily Show, they have satirical segments that aren't meant to be taken at face value.
Yes. But here's the thing is that
Mm-hmm.
there are times when they make a point
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought of.
Right.
And all of a sudden I'll go, oh, ha, 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 ha. Oh my God, but that's true.
That's so right. I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you, John Oliver. Go back to England now. Come over here and
I
tell
can't
us
believe we're
about
paying for this.
Twitter. No. But I subscribe to HBO for this. Thank God there's Game of Thrones. Mm.
uh, then the last news, which I can't, it's horrible, but it's clickbait.
I hate that.
Clickbait is crap that might or might not be real. The only reason they put it up is to get you to click on something else that will make them money.
And
That's
there's
it. They
usually advertisements in them. I only clicked on one of them once. And that was because I don't remember what it was, but I kept seeing it. I was like, all right, I have to know. What was the fifth Beatles top secret? I don't remember what it was, but
Yeah.
something. And I was like, all right, I have to know. And so I went to it, and you're clicking through, and the thing they promised to tell you is not coming up. And every fifth one is an advertisement. And I was like on slide 60, and I was like, they're not showing me what they said they were going to show me. So I X'd out of it, and then of course some pop-ups came up, and I was like, never again, never again, never again.
Yep. See, and then they have your ISP.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's weird.
um,
Okay.
yeah, all they want is the clicks. That's
Yeah.
all they want. They want the clicks. And I have to admit that yes, every once in a while I click on it too. And yes, I do consider Facebook clickbait.
Because they have a lot of the same crap too. Those third-party websites that they advertise, they don't stand by it. They're not going to tell you that Zulily really has the cheapest prices. I mean, it's not like
No,
Mark Zuckerberg personally went to them and said, "I want to see the quality of your product."
but here's the only good thing now about Facebook.
Hmm.
You can report an advertisement
Good.
for being inappropriate or false or spammy, and you can prevent that specific advertisement from being shown to you ever again.
That's good. I like that.
Which makes the fact that they're showing me wedding dresses and baby bottles just a little bit less offensive.
A little bit. I'm like, why are you showing me this? And one of
You
my
know?
Facebook friends, one of the Facebook friends that I actually know in real life, she said that she ordered some of the, you see like Zulily and all those clothing things.
Yes.
She said she ordered some of that and it never came. And she had a horrible time trying to get anyone because it's a different country, and they clearly don't want to answer customer service complaints. So she was kind of in limbo for a long time.
Absolutely. So it's kind of a crapshoot if you decide to actually go to the website. And if you go to the website and it automatically directs you somewhere else, hang up the phone.
Don't do it. Don't go to sending you to top Russia models
Yep.
.com whatever. Don't do it. It's bad all around. Just don't do it.
So, shall we go to our personal picks for news? Would you like to start?
Sure.
Now,
I only
these are places we actually do trust for our own
mhm,
reasons.
right. Okay, so I only have a few like go-to places every day. A long time ago, I used to go to Huffington Post. I used to love Huffington Post because they had a lot of, I considered, unbiased news and good articles. And then it got sold to AOL.com, and all of a sudden it all became sensationalistic. All the headlines were like this big, and it was just the most sensationalist take you could take on anything. Instead of, FBI Director Comey fired, they would say Trump hates Comey or something. It was just the most ridiculous take on a subject they could. And I just had enough. I was done. I was like, Huffington Post, you are dead to
Hmm.
me. So I've had to resort like just my everyday go-to news. My big one, I go to the AP, apnews.com, because that's their job. They are unbiased. They provide news to other sources. They're like the first source, and they're not as far as I know, they're not affiliated with any specific publication. So I trust them. I trust the BBC, even though the BBC is government run. They have a very good track record of keeping the BBC independent from the government, so I trust them. NPR, I trust implicitly. NPR could tell me just about anything, and I'll go, okay. I love NPR. And PBS, along the same lines, I consider them very much the same thing. PBS, I go to them for like videos, for instance, NewsHour. So I watch their NewsHour. Once in a while, I'll go to the New York Times, but I know they've had issues with people rising and not checking their facts. So I take New York Times with a big grain of salt.
Big
Now, for
fat grain of
entertainment,
salt. Uh-oh. Did I freeze? Uh-oh. I think Lola might have frozen. I think Lola might have frozen. If you can still hear me talking, then I'm actually I'll see if I can just let her know. And I'm actually going to go into oh no. Is it Did the whole call crash?
No, no, no. It's just Lola.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is
Boing Boing is awesome because I'm taking it right
okay.
away. Because not only are they good articles from Cory Doctorow and people that he's hired to work on Boing Boing, but they give you a lot of sale items. For instance, I got a sheet set of like really nice sheets for $40 that would have gone for $300. I got a course. Um, I've already
So Boing
forgotten,
Boing actually does sell you stuff, but it's
but it's not from them. It's not. They call it their store, and they may get a kickback. I don't know, but
okay.
it's not. They're not a retailer. They
Oh,
give you
okay.
they give you links to really good deals. For instance, they had like a, they call it a marketing class, but it's like technical marketing. Program manager, that's it. It was a program manager class that would have been $1,000, and I bought it for like, I don't remember, like $40 or something. So they scour the internet for like the best deals when it comes to furthering your education or just even life hacking, things like that.
Oh, I see. I
Boy,
mean, they do have it looks like they do have advertisements, but it's not like a sensationalist
no,
thing.
it's not obnoxious.
And the headlines look reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
Boing Boing is very respectable, and the person behind it, Cory Doctorow, he's one of the kings of online publishing. He was one of the first successful self-publishers. He is just awesome. I just, I think everybody wants to be him. I want to be him. But yeah, he's awesome, and he's got Boing Boing. Boing Boing is cool. Boing Boing is where it's at. All the cool kids are there, and it's worthy. It's respectable. It's trustworthy. I just adore it. So yeah, that those are like my little go-tos because everything else I take with a big old fat grain of salt.
Hmm. Well, I do agree with you on the BBC.
Yeah.
Um, I like the BBC, well, both, for world news.
Mhm.
They also, they have like the world news radio that I can listen to,
Uh
and I
huh.
listen to that, when I'm just, going around doing garden work or whatever, and it gives me just the top headlines, and it's very calm, very
Mhm.
calm. It's not like an American show where, and oh my God, did you see what blah 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 blah, blah did today? No, it's and in this news, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's something to think about. I feel like I should be sitting in the library with a pipe and a newspaper and a glass of wine.
Right. I feel very calm, and I feel like I'm approaching world events through a very measured lens,
Yes.
and that's nice.
Now, I do also go to Al Jazeera,
Yeah.
which the BBC may or may not. I know Al Jazeera has a kind of a checkered in and out kind of ability, but I do like it because they sometimes have details that either BBC cannot or will not put on their website,
Mhm.
especially about news from the Middle East and from Africa.
Right.
uh, I also hit my local, well, not just my local news, but local news from an area I know is important. If there is an important event, you know, uh, uh, this big, huge fire, or like in Washington a couple of days ago, there was a nuke scare, believe
Yeah.
it or not, in Seattle, Washington. And I was like, okay, how real is this? So I started searching the local news. And what I came up with immediately was, police and fire reports, which are 99.9 bound to be accurate.
Right.
They list things that happened, period, and
It's
just,
off the ground.
basic
It's
reports.
the radio reports straight from
Yeah.
the police centers and things like that.
So what I learned was, yes, people were removed from the nuclear facility. No, it is not an emergency. A tunnel collapsed.
Okay.
They filled in the tunnel, everything good, no radiation leakage. The next day, everything was fine, and people went on about their daily life. No, I'm not going to have to worry about getting up on my bed at 2 a.m. in the morning and, oh my God, it's a nuclear scare,
No,
nuclear,
get
I'm going to
out
have to
of
go to
bed.
California, and oh my God. Okay, no, and we're not going to kill all the Japanese fish.
Not yet. But yeah, and I forgot to mention, I go to my local news too, just for every day. All right, who got killed today? And I'm sound facetious, but that's actually true. I'm like, all right, who got killed today, and how close are they to me?
Hmm.
And that's sad, but that's the truth. I'm like, okay, they're a mile away from me. I don't like that. So I do go for everyday type things.
Even AP Okay, we'll come back.
Okay.
There we go. There's our tagline for when we drop.
What?
We'll come back as quick as a beer in second fermentation.
Oh, okay.
Good night.
And we're back again with sound. Yay!
Why
Now I
is
have
that?
to admit, for political news, The Daily Show.
I haven't watched much since Trevor Noah's been on, but I do like him.
Trevor Noah is so now. Trevor Noah hits almost every single time. He hits the exact thing I am interested in.
Right.
So when I see The Daily Show come up on my Facebook feed, I know it's probably something I'm interested in.
Right.
And it gives me a start to the subject that does not make me feel overwhelmed. Even if I'm being overwhelmed by the day. I'm like, oh, well, ha 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 ha. And then I go, okay, now I need to think about this logically.
Yeah.
Okay, it's humor, but it's a good way if you are easily intimidated by news, it's a good way for you to jump into that political arena without being totally overwhelmed and wanting to shut your computer down.
Or like me, who gets depressed really easily, it kind of sugarcoats it a little bit.
It does. Sometimes we need a little sugar coating. Now, it does give it's only a jumping off point for me.
Right.
It is because it does expose a lot of the hypocrisy and the lies. But if I want to know more, um, if I say to myself, okay, so crap's going down with the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it really true? Or do I really need to worry about this? Then I can always go and take another look elsewhere at, well, okay, I used to be able to take a look at EPA reports.
Oh no, but they work for Trump now, don't they?
I actually think I the last time I checked yesterday, the EPA reports were gone.
Oh
I don't know if
no.
they've been brought. I don't know if they've been brought back or not. Uh, well, I know in January all the big scientists were kind of muzzled,
Yeah.
and a lot of them left.
I don't blame them. I would too.
But I think a lot of EPA I think a lot of EPA stuff was removed.
Mm-hmm.
Official reports were removed.
They purged a lot. The administration purged a lot when they came online in January, and I don't think they put a lot of it back.
Which is pretty awful because that was a good source of actually seeing if these scientific things were true,
Right.
because you and I have a hard time going to journals.
Yeah.
You and I have to pay hundreds of dollars for access to a single journal, and if we
Right.
want to purchase journal articles, it usually ranges from $20 to $40 per article.
Right.
That's not realistic for us. So then we have to depend on the news to tell us whether these things are true or not.
And they're interpreting it for us.
How else are we actually going to tell whether it's true? Whether you know whether jobs have been taken by rapist Mexicans, or whether our jobs are actually being taken by automation.
Mm-hmm. Or
Because this is,
whether
yeah, Go ahead. Sorry.
Or whether the NSA is really spying on our every move, or if that's a scare tactic by the administration.
That's right. Um, I came up with some suggestions.
Okay.
Where did I put them? I put them right. It's the links. Where am I listed? Oh, questions to ask yourself when considering whether what you are reading or listening to is fake.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, who does it benefit?
Right.
Who's going to benefit from you listening to what you're listening to?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be Trump benefiting? Is it going to be you benefiting? Is it going to be an advertiser benefiting? Who's the one that ultimately gets the dollar bill across in their palm?
A particular political party.
Exactly. And is that political party actually utilizing that money to support you or to support their own McMansion?
And usually it's supporting their own views. Most of the time, I've found that the political parties want to further their own trajectory. So if it behooves them for us to think that the NSA is spying on our every move, then they'll be like, yeah, sure, they're spying. So
Yeah.
they're not out. I honestly don't think any of the major political parties are there for us. They're there to politic, and that's what's so depressing to me.
Yes, that is very true. The actual political parties themselves, uh, they are there for their own benefit.
And their own survival. They're a machine, and they just want to continue with their machinations.
Mm-hmm.
And we have very little benefit to them, unfortunately.
The second one is something we just mentioned. Is the person who is claiming this claim
Mm-hmm.
is this consistent with what they've said before? Did a couple of months ago, if a couple of months ago they were claiming that the people that are terrorists were just fine and we should hire more of them,
Mm-hmm.
what made them flip-flop? Why are they flip-flopping? What is there may be a link there that is no good for you.
Well, and usually it benefits the thinking of the time. So if 3 years ago they said we shouldn't go into Syria, well, you got to think who was wanting to go into Syria at the time. So someone else was wanting to go into Syria. So this person just wanted to be contrary and say, now 3 years later, they're saying we should go into Syria. They're not thinking through the actual situation. They're reacting against some adversary. And so they're basically taking the opposite view of whatever their adversary takes.
How very 1984.
Oh, yeah, we're there.
So yeah, I mean, well, okay, we're not as scary as the book, but
Well, close, though.
I mean, 1984 made the point that these people that were working in media were all responsible for making sure that the media reflected the government at that particular moment. They would change all of history as they had it written down to reflect the fact that they were fighting, they were no longer fighting Eurasia, they're fighting East Asia. They would change all the articles in order to point it that way.
I guess the main difference right now is we still do have a free media, and there are still people who are trying to uphold that. So we are very lucky in that.
Okay. Well, we do have media.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure it's free.
Well, some of it
Well,
is.
let's remember that we just had an incident where the American media were not allowed into the meeting between Trump and the Russians.
That's true.
But the Russians were tweeting it. The Russians were sending out photos, and then Trump's office had the gall to act surprised.
Right.
We didn't know they were going to do that. You invite Russian media, and you didn't think they were going to take photos and post them. What?
Right.
That's either true. That's either true ignorance or you're just sheer out and out lying to us.
I think it's ballsiness.
I think
don't
it's.
care.
I don't think they care either. I think that's just sheer ballsiness, and it's a scary indicator. And this is where a little bit of rational fear can come in.
Right.
If you're hearing that your own nation's media is being cut out of a meeting between major powers, you got to think about who's really in control, who's really attempting to seize control,
right,
and whether there's a little bit of truth that a coup may be in the offing.
I hope someone does a coup. Somebody's got to do something.
Well, I don't want Russia in charge of my country.
Oh, I thought you meant like a coup from United citizens, like United States citizens, like.
You want Ron Wyden from Oregon to go and seize a coup on I will send him I will pay for his plane ticket.
Well, we need to get to impeachment. I mean, it's.
But we don't want. Then we don't want. Another extreme situation happen that could be even worse.
Clint and I were talking about this today. Neither of us like Pence. I think Pence would be horrible for domestic policy, but I don't think he would be courting North Korea in a war. So even though it would be awful for us domestically, at least I don't think we would be in danger of being in a war with another country.
I think it actually might be. I disagree. I think it might be scarier in that I think he'd be more than willing to allow another country to have even more control than they have now. And to be clear, I am speaking about the Russian government.
Yeah,
I am not speaking about the private Russian citizens.
Oh, of course not. I mean, they're people just like we are at the
Yes.
mercy of a bigger power. Yeah, it's those guys. I don't know.
Yeah, a few other things to ask yourself is is the news article producing an emotional reaction instead of making you think about it? Do you just want to get up and go throw rocks at somebody? Oh my God, all those stupid Mexicans, and they're taking our jobs, and they're killing people, and they're whoa, whoa. Go look at the real statistics.
Well,
and then come back to it.
In cases like that, it's feeding people's resentment, because maybe that's someone from Pennsylvania who lost their job in a coal mine place 10 years ago. They've never been able to get a job since. So they're resentful. And so you're getting our jobs. Well, then they're like, that's what happened. That's why I can't pay my mortgage. That's why, all this is happening. It gives them someone to blame.
I agree.
Convenient.
Yes. It's a very convenient blaming mechanism. Because if you lose your job and you can't take care of your family, you feel like you're losing out. You feel like you're the loser that the government is telling you are.
You feel like a failure, and you don't want to feel that way. So it alleviates some of the guilt if you can put the blame on someone else.
One of the last questions that is one of the hardest.
Yeah.
Is that we have to ask ourselves how our own cognitive processes are doing.
Yeah.
Are we only thinking this because of our own environment, our own experiences. I am somewhat of a scientist. I've been through some scientific training, but there are a lot of things that I do not completely understand. Full business financials, I don't understand those. Intricacies of marketing, I don't understand that. There's a lot about social media I don't understand. So I'm more than likely to be confused by those and make a rash decision.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I have to step back and say, I just don't know enough about that to say yes or no, that's real. That's one of the hardest things to say, is that you don't know and that it's okay that you don't know. There's a an effect called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you heard about that? I was actually watching a video that's in the links. Where's the video? The links. Stephen Fry is explaining cognitive bias.
Yeah.
And he actually explains the Dunning-Kruger effect, where the more ignorant you are, the more confident you become.
I can see that.
There was actually a bank robber who once watched a thing on lemon juice doing invisible writing.
Mm-hmm.
We all did that when we were kids. We were writing in lemon juice to make invisible writing.
Right.
Well, he went and rubbed lemon all over himself and attempted to rob a bank.
Because he thought it would make him invisible?
Because he thought it would make him invisible.
I think that person is just ignorant. That's just ignorance.
That is ignorance. Yes, that is complete ignorance, and that can completely compare to the situations, our own cognitive bias. Were you brought up in a severely restricted environment where you were only taught specific things because that's what people wanted you to know?
Right.
And people will teach children just about anything to get them to believe it. Right. Abortions cause cancer. It's not just.
Will make you blind.
Exactly.
You know what, Daddy? I'm not blind yet. Although I do have a hard time seeing, and I think I need new contacts.
And the more ignorant you are, the more you believe that the knowledge you think you have is true.
Right.
That you are right.
Right.
Even if you don't have that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you never learned it.
Right.
And facing up to the fact that we don't have that knowledge is really difficult.
I think part of it is, I think a lot of us, we want to feel confident in our knowledge. And there is so much gray in the world, so much uncertainty. And that if you feel like you can pick a side and stick to it, you'll stick to it. I think that's what happens. It's easier to say all Mexicans are bad, all black people are bad, all this are bad.
All Democrats are good.
Right. Exactly.
I will always vote Democrat because Democrats are always right.
They always have my back. And meanwhile, you hear about in my neck of the woods, our Democratic congresswoman for like almost 30 years has been indicted and found guilty on like 18 charges of embezzlement and fraud and everything. But this woman served for almost 30 years because people think she's a Democrat, she'll take care of me, she's got my back. Well, you don't always know what's happening. You only know what's presented to you. And if you only take things at face value, you might get swindled.
Yes. Sorry, I'm looking at the Twitch chat. I'm
What's going on in the Twitch
I know
space?
Cyber's making a lot of
And
comments.
I want to include him. He did mention earlier that he likes a site called allsided.com because he says they have like a
Like,
rating
oh,
system. Sorry,
allsides.com.
allside.com. He likes that.
And the list of fake news websites, I believe, if I don't have these links, I will put these links in the show notes.
Okay.
Wait a minute. There's a quote here. I'm not sure where it's from, but I will. Cyber said, "We will take America without firing a shot. We will bury you. We can't expect the American people to jump from capitalism to communism, but we can assist their elected leaders in giving them small doses of socialism
Oh,
until they awaken one day to find they have communism.
did,
We
who
do
said
not
that?
have to invade the United States. We will destroy you from within." Oh, Nikita
Was that
Khrushchev.
was that like back when the KGB was active and all that stuff, like during the Cold War?
I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure who Nikita Khrushchev is.
I don't
I
know.
probably should know. Oh, the former premier of the Soviet Union. So yes, these are
Uh,
so this is Russia still attempting to influence American politics, and they've been doing so for a long time. And apparently, um, they have they have found a new foothold in Trump for which to
right,
wiggle their big toe in the water again.
right.
Way back
Okay.
in the early '60s. That was from the '60s.
Okay, 'cause that was like the beginning of the Cold War,
Yeah.
and I think we're back to it. We're Cold War, except for it's warming up a little, and then we're pushing
Uh,
with North Korea.
la, 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 la. I think that's all the questions. Uh-oh. Did we lose Lola again? Did we lose me? No.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Well, you're see me?
I can't hear poor Lola very well. Lola, I can't hear you very well, but I'm not sure whether that's the well, Lola seems to be stuttering to me.
You can't hear me? Am I coming in? Snap. I'm being lost on both fronts. I'll be right back. That was weird.
Well, my whole system crashed.
Both mine crashed, and then when I tried to bring it up, it just had the white screen with us at the bottom, and so I had to
Oh yeah.
had to redo it a few times.
I gotta bring up our notes now.
Let's see how OBS is doing. Where did OBS go? I lost it. OBS still. Hmm. Hopefully it'll get with the program. I guess I'll stop streaming over here and then I'll start again.
So, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I believe that's all the question. Can you think of things that you actually do to, what triggers that it may not be as true as you might suspect?
Well, what's funny is lately I've found with articles, a lot of the articles will be fairly balanced, but they start off with a very leading headline, like it'll say NSA watching your every move, and then you start reading the article and it starts off like, oh, they're in your computer and they're recording your chat sessions and all this stuff. And then the article will go on to give you the real truth, or at least the more balanced representation. And they'll say, in all fairness, this is only if you're on Windows 10 and you haven't updated since 2015, and it gives you all the things that would make you go, oh, well, that's not me, like all the caveats, but they wait until the end. So you have to read through to get to the caveats. So I'm usually left going, well, that was a waste of time. So you have to read the whole article, and then you realize it was just sensational fodder to get you to read
Mm-hmm.
the article.
So how do you pick the things that are important? Like, really, do you have uh, things that are totally always newsworthy to you? I mean, I always want to read things that are about environmental protection, uh, data management, things like that. I always want to read those articles. I always want to listen to it.
Yeah.
I want to know what Trump is about to rip out. I want to know the carpet that Trump's about to rip out from underneath my feet now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide what's important to you? Do you ever write it down?
No, but um, when it comes to like, I think about this when it comes to, since we have global media and we read about every shooting, every kidnapping, everything that happens in this country and other countries, I'm having to shut off some of it. I feel horrible, but I'm like, there's a girl missing in Oklahoma. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's horrible, but I'm not going to read this article because I'm not in Oklahoma. There's too much for me to comprehend. I can't emotionally deal with everything because we've got missing girls here. Everything that you read about nationwide happens here too. So I'm sorry that someone got shot in Chicago, but there's someone getting shot every day in Jacksonville. And I'm going to read those articles before I read the articles about Chicago because I can only filter so much. I'm one human being. I
Mm-hmm.
need to know what's going on around me. That's my priority.
So do you ever use Google News as, like a filter? I mean, I know I use it every once in a while when I just feel like I want the news. I'll start with Google News because it only shows me things that I'm interested in, period. And I
Right.
can get rid of all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah. I usually do, but lately it brings up a lot of CNN, and I'm sick of CNN because every time I go to a CNN article, it starts playing a damn video. And
Oh my God. The videos and the
hate that
pop-ups.
shit. I hate that. it's loud and it's not what I want. I just want to read.
And it
So
screams. It screams of
so
fakeness,
loud.
doesn't
Oh,
it?
and very fake, very fake.
Oh
It's
my
very
God. We want to show you. Well, I'm going to let you read the article, but first.
breaking news. Clinton always make fun of Wolf Blitzer because everything is breaking news. Even if you reported an hour ago, it's still breaking news.
Yes, yes.
It's like it's not breaking news. Breaking news. We have breaking news. That's not breaking news.
Yeah.
It just pisses me off. And another good example. I used to really like Rachel Maddow, um, but I kind of stopped watching her a while ago. But I went back and watched a show when she said she was going to have Trump's tax returns. So I sat there like a chump and waited.
Oh,
I was one of the ones who sat there and waited for her to get these tax returns, which turned out to be 2 pages from 2005.
yes.
I was like, really? And I'm thinking that they leaked that because his taxes were probably fine in 2005. And they were just 2 pages. He has more than 2 pages. So that's all that did was feed his cause because he could say, I provided my tax returns. Rachel Maddow had them. 2 pages from 2005. So
Yeah, that's not
Rachel
tax
Maddow,
returns, buddy. That's a freaking piss in the bucket.
that's the cover page. That's not your tax returns. That's the first page. That means nothing. And that could be doctored. I'm sorry, but anyone can take a tax form and fill stuff in. That doesn't mean it's the real tax form.
Oh God. And when the speaker came out with all those pages to the White House briefing,
Right.
look at all the paper. Look at all the paper.
They
Yes,
make
look at
fun
all
of
the
that.
paper. Anything could be written on those pages. There might be nothing on those pages for all
Nothing.
we know. It
I
could be your poetry, dude.
On Saturday Night Live, I loved it because I think it was Alec Baldwin, but they had him and he had all the paper, and when he lifted his arm, you could tell it was just like a box, like made to look like paper because
Yeah.
it stuck to his arm, and he brought the
Oh.
whole box. That was funny. It's like, oh, these are papers, really.
But now there's another question. Does Saturday Night Live really have the right to go so in depth into this? Is it still relevant? Should we
Oh, I
still
think
be
so.
encouraging Saturday Night Live to poke and prod and
As long as we can, as long as it won't get us put into a concentration camp. As far as I know, although they did arrest a reporter, I only heard about this sort of like in the corner of my eye. I saw a news thing. Someone got arrested for questioning. I don't even remember who it was, but it was someone. And so that's one of those things where you have to watch the video for yourself to decide because what I heard, I only can't touch her. So it was some politician, I can't remember who it was. And the man kept hollering, are you going to answer my question? I have a question, will you answer it? And you heard someone else, the same person say, you cannot touch her, you need to back away. So the reason he was arrested was because, he was being threatening or whatever. So you have two sides. There's the side that says, oh, he's a journalist and he was arrested just for asking questions. But then there's the side that says he was harassing this person, he was intimidating her, and he feared for her life and all that stuff. So in
how
here,
about the woman that laughed at Jeff Sessions?
that sounded
She was convicted.
right. And I can't get that. I mean,
Now here is a supreme example of what really to believe.
right.
Almost all the news media said arrested and going to trial for laughing at Jeff Sessions.
Yeah.
The actual paperwork didn't mention anything about
Okay.
humiliation or, laughing at Jeff Sessions or anything like that.
Mm.
What it did meant, the court paperwork itself mentioned that there was harassment and disorderly conduct after the briefing had happened.
Okay.
And then she refused to leave.
Yeah.
So here we go. Is it, all the media is hyping it up to make it seem, oh my God, laughing and
Free speech is dead.
free speech is dead. No, apparently that was
For no
not.
reason.
Apparently that was not what happened.
Well, and see, we don't know. That's their side. So they're saying disorderly conduct. We don't know because we weren't there. I
Well,
mean,
that's what the court documents
yeah.
that the court documents that they showed, not the private information, but the public information on the top said that the case was brought for disorderly conduct and harassment.
Right.
Now, yeah, I mean, I understand, may or may not have happened. It totally depends on
We
what the
don't
court
know.
decided, but
We don't know.
how the news media made it seem was that this woman had the audacity to laugh at Jeff Sessions in public and got arrested and convicted for it.
Right. So the little hippie in you is going, no, free speech.
No!
And you want to go protest. Yeah.
I wanted to get all up in arms about that.
Right.
Woman,
I'll laugh at it.
woman
I'll
power,
go and laugh.
feminism, rah.
I'm going to step all over him. I'm going to stomp all over him, And then at that point, you may get arrested because you're threatening. So, I mean, things
Yes.
like that get out of hand so easily, and it's hard to know without being there who instigated what.
Yes, but if the news media is so eager to toss this at us that somebody was arrested and convicted for laughing at a government official, you kind of got to wonder about other things they've posted.
How reliable is it? Is it just sensationalistic? I
Yeah.
mean, and when it feeds what you already believe, there is a temptation to go, oh, that's horrible. I can't believe that happened. I'm all up in arms and I'm going to talk about it. It's very tempting to do that because it reaffirms what you already believe.
Yes.
But if you're going to be fair, you need to take the time to try to find out what actually happened. And it's going to be less satisfying because most likely you're going to end up going, oh, well, it might have been justified. Meh.
And that leads us to fact checking. Dun, dun, dun. Do you want to know the truth? Do you want to be a hero?
Yes, I do.
Then you have options.
Yes.
One of my most favorite things ever, what I hold upon a pedestal every time something says, you can put an onion in your sock and it'll cure cancer.
Oh, no.
Snopes.com.
That's good.
Snopes was started by reliable people.
Good.
Reliable people. I trust. I looked into the people that actually began Snopes. I do trust their background.
Good.
So, and a lot of their stuff is provable because they have the links to back it up.
That's good.
So, pretty much if Snopes says, look, true, false, and they admit if it's unproven, if they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the best things. Some of the more political checks are factcheck.org and PolitiFact.
I like those.
FactCheck will give you a little more statistical. PolitiFact a little more, oh, well, they said this, but here's the real basis behind it.
And I like, because I remember I would read those during like the election and right after. And one of the things I liked is they showed you why it was undetermined. Because they may say, all right, this is the claim from Hillary Clinton, blah, blah, blah. And they may say both true and untrue because she said this, but if you take this into account, that that could be misleading. So it presents both sides.
Mm-hmm. Now, another one for basic checks is Google Scholar, but
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Google Scholar is pretty much a lead into journals and articles, so it's very good for the scientific minded. If you know how to grasp information from just the abstract,
Mm-hmm.
Google Scholar is going to be your best friend.
Okay.
If you don't really understand how scientific articles work, Google Scholar is just going to really confuse you. Stay away from it.
Or if you don't have the patience.
Or if you don't have the patience. If you don't have the patience to try a search, refine the search, and try it again, and then look for other things that may or may not back that up,
Right.
leave it alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes, like the scientific minded or the very patient, detail oriented person to go through Google Scholar.
And hopefully, if you're not that person, you can find someone who is that person and read their interpretation. And if you find someone you trust, even though it's someone else's interpretation of what happened, if you trust them, then you can feel.
You're back.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I think I'm going in. If you find somebody you trust,
Yeah, find someone you trust, and even if you didn't get the information firsthand, if you feel comfortable enough with the source, then you can feel reasonably comfortable that you got accurate information.
yes,
Sometimes that's all you
that's
can
true.
get. Yeah.
I did have another site recommended to me. It's called Hoaxy. I'm not
Okay.
sure how accurate it is.
Mhm.
I, I think it might be another one like Snopes.com, but I don't have any experience with it.
Okay. Well, that's something we can look into.
Oh no, there are two. There are two recommendations that Cybernaut had, and I know
Okay.
it's on those streams somewhere. I did not actually manage to grab them before I crashed.
Oh, and I'm not looking at it at all because I'm on my own Twitch. Cybernaut, can you post them again?
Cybernaut says you have to be careful with scientific articles. I've seen many biased, cherry-picked data sets that
That's
support
true.
the grant because you don't get a positive result. Sometimes you
That's
lose your
right.
funding for that line of research. That's very, very good observation.
Right.
That's why it takes the person who is used to scientific
Mhm.
articles to be able to pick out from the abstract and from the basic information that you can get for not paying for the article.
Mhm.
Um, there was a Gillette survey. For instance, there's a Gillette survey on how effective cartridges versus safety razors are,
Mhm.
and there were a lot of articles that kind of leaned toward cartridges being very the better way to go.
Mhm.
But ultimately, I learned that all of those articles were paid for
Yeah,
by Gillette.
that's the big issue. I mean, they may say the Institute for Higher Learning, and they may sound all scientific, but they're funded by the person who wants an outcome, and so they're going to get that outcome.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes it really takes the detail orientation, and if you're not in it to win it when you're going through a scientific
Right.
research, just leave it alone because you'll drive yourself insane trying to figure out who's behind everything.
Right. Sometimes
Aha,
it's
here we
good.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, allsides.com
Right.
/bias ratings and Wikipedia's list of fake news websites.
Interesting. So this is maybe one occasion where we can trust Wikipedia.
Well, also, I mean, okay, so Wikipedia has a horrible reputation. A lot of schools
Mhm.
won't take a Wikipedia page as, any supporting evidence. But here's the thing is that if Wikipedia has the resources to back it up on the page, it's a pretty good thing. Or if the people who have written the Wikipedia article have the reputation and the knowledge to understand what they are writing, then it's probably pretty useful. So don't turn off Wikipedia just because you see Wikipedia. You can actually go and research the people who have written it to see if they are trustworthy or not.
Well, and that's what I do. I use it as a starting point. If I were creating a scientific paper or any sort of research paper, I would use the cited article.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Uh-oh. Wow, we're having a lot of problems.
She's on Wi-Fi. She's not wired.
Oh. All sides bias ratings. Oh. Well, it looks like all sides bias ratings is literally a bias rating system. News sources. And then they do have an agree or disagree button. And community feedback on whether it's biased or not. And it looks like, man, there are a lot of different parts on all sides bias rating. You can search by news source type, news source bias. They have L, C, and R, but they're in different colors. Oh, I see. L is left, center is purple, R is like red.
And I liked that when I was looking through it, I kind of agreed with it because I had CNN in the middle, and then Huffington Post was far left, and Breitbart was far right. And so a lot of them I was like, yeah, that's pretty right on.
C-SPAN is centered.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hop down to my favorite hated news source. Everybody knows what my favorite hated news source, Fox News.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that they named it after one of my favorite animals.
I know. I love it. And
Yes.
My favorite X-Files character.
Everything Fox is extreme right.
I would say so.
Extreme right bias.
Clint likes to listen to it because, I mean, he hates the viewpoint, but he listens to it. I don't really understand.
Huffington Post are left-leaning libtards.
Yeah. Well, they're very manipulative. Also, like I said, they're sensationalistic, and it's headline grabbing. That's all. It's just catered more toward the liberal people. I forgot podcasts. I used to listen to political podcasts. I don't much anymore.
Podcasts. Now, shall we question ourselves?
All right.
How would you describe yourself as biased? Are you well? Let's do it by the all sides bias rating. Are you left, center, right?
I would say I am left of center.
So you're like a mid-lefter, not a far left hand?
Right, not far left because there's a bunch of sensationalistic crap over to the far left side. So.
Now, I used to think that I was true center, that I was the fence sitter.
Right.
But after having seriously questioned myself, I think I'm just in between center and like center left. I'm not completely left because I am more than willing to take a conservative view into account if it makes sense for the public good.
Right.
If a conservative or a right-leaning view was better for us as a whole, I would consider it. But I lean towards freedom, socialism, values that are on the left.
Right. Me too.
But there are a lot of things. I don't have a lot of political. I don't have a political education. I don't have political education at all.
Yeah.
Um, I have a basic education in our country's legal system,
Right.
extremely basic.
Mhm.
And it seems like a lot of my knowledge about the legal system and even about the Constitution is challenged when I look at the news.
Right.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
democratic socialism. Is that, well, I guess democrat, yeah, like a democratic socialist would be.
Yeah.
Carreltis identifies as democratic socialism.
Okay. I could see that. Definitely. Um, definitely more socialistic type thing. Um, I am definitely I'm further away from capitalism than some of the people that I know. So I'm more for the greater good, but I'm also for helping each individual too. I mean, I don't want anyone left behind. I think everyone should be taken care of. I think all basic necessities should be free. I believe healthcare should be free. I believe food should be free. Everything that is needed to live should be free. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I agree, Cyber. We tend to think that, he says, we tend to think that most people would think the same way we do.
Yeah.
It's hard to think that somebody else would not value the ability for a woman to decide what to do with her own body,
Right.
isn't it?
Right.
Doesn't it
Yes.
seem like it doesn't make sense that somebody would say, "Oh, no, women shouldn't get abortions. They're too dumb to know what to do with themselves."
It's
Which is an
unfathomable to me.
extreme conservative view.
Mhm.
To me, it's so hard to make sense of that. That seems like it's from like a dinosaur era.
Right. From like the early 1900s.
Yeah.
But that's the
Um.
thing. We ourselves don't know many people like that. We don't know that many people who are hardline conservative Christian. You know, abortion is wrong. Woman stays home. Woman cooks the food. The woman doesn't question the man. And that's not just Christianity. That could be hardline Muslim. A lot of religions have that attitude. The woman stays home. The woman, Indian, the woman stays home. The woman doesn't question her husband. And so that's just totally foreign to us. But there are people who live very solidly in that reality.
And yeah, and we don't surround ourselves with friends who think like that.
No, because I
So
don't trust them.
there's our bias right there. We tend to surround ourselves with more liberal, freedom thinking, feminist, independent, a little bit socialist,
Right.
that sort of
Green party, happy hippie.
in between left and neutral. We surround ourselves with those people. So, and I find it taxing
Yeah.
to walk into an extremely conservative bunch
Mhm.
of people. It it literally hurts.
It does hurt. It's like, because then they're asking you, married? Well, why don't you have children? Well, where's your husband? And why are you wearing that? That's not very becoming. And, you need to dye your hair.
Yeah.
Just like, prickling my skin. Just go away.
Yeah. So there's our bias right there. That's,
Right.
it's hard for us to
Well,
understand people not in our social values.
and that's one of the things that irks me about some is they get so high and mighty about their position and they get so judgmental about other people, but I think they fail to realize that they are as secluded in their beliefs as, say, a hardline conservative person. Because a hardline conservative person probably doesn't surround themselves with liberal thinkers. So you have one group who surrounds themselves with similar type people. Then you have another group who surrounds themselves with similar type people. And is it any surprise that neither group has any real knowledge of the other group?
Now, have you ever thought of the United States as splitting up as a good idea? Is that an extreme that you would actually consider going to?
I don't want it to happen because I would be on the conservative side of that, and I don't want to move. I bought my house. I'm happy where I am. But I feel like if that happened, I would be compelled to move wherever the liberal people settle, and I don't want to do that.
Oregon.
Well, I mean, I would have to. I wouldn't have a choice. And I don't want to uproot myself. I don't want to do that. I want to stay where I am. So I hope it doesn't happen.
It's I don't think it's a real possibility. I really don't.
But I don't know. Maybe someone said that about Germany before the wall went up. I don't know. Or someone said that about Korea or something.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
That's another thing. Oh, am I frozen?
Uh yeah, I think your sound is coming back.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right, I was going to say there's a concept called American exceptionalism, and it's the concept that, we're better than everybody. And I think that there is an accepted belief that we're too big to fail. The United States is too big, too established to ever come apart. But my worry is that we may be failing to see the real, dangers that lie ahead if we do continue to ostracize ourselves from each other. Things could happen. I do get worried.
If the if the apocalypse were to happen,
Mhm.
to save the human race, would you consider going to a conservative view?
Hell no,
No, no,
no.
no. You'd rather see the
I
human race die than actually.
yes.
Oh,
I'm no Handmaid's Tale. He's Clint. My name is not off Clint. It's not happening. No. I'm sorry. I will fight tooth and nail before I ever bow to that. No.
hmm.
Not, no. I'm not doing it because what kind of saving is that? It's just condemning the human race to craptitude forever. Would you?
Uh, that's a really hard decision because I do value the human
Hmm.
race, but I think I would only agree to it under certain conditions.
Okay.
Um, I might agree to it in certain areas if certain people signed up for it.
All right.
Anybody who did not want to, um, like yourself included, I wouldn't want to force them to go along with it and just make their lives hell, and I don't want to make anybody's life hell. Basically, what I'm looking for
No.
is perfection, and I'll never get it.
No, that's never going to happen.
But to save the
We
human
need
race, to
compromise.
save the human race itself, I would consider it.
Way. I can't really think of a scenario where me deciding to go the human race. I mean, unless I'm not that important that I would influence the whole human race.
That'd be such a tough decision because I don't want my I don't I like in Worf's words, I like my species the way it is.
Right, I do too.
Alive.
Yeah, I like us alive too.
But you know what? The the condition of so many people has gotten better over the years that going backwards makes me feel really kind of shivery inside. Even to save the
Uh,
human race. Uh, it would definitely have to be a majority decision, but then again, we've seen how the majority decision can be influenced in the United States. So could we ever really be
right.
sure it was the actual majority decision and not a manipulated vote?
Manipulated us. They're fear mongering. They say on Fox News that if you don't do this, you're going to die. And so everyone feels pressure to do it. And so if you're not the one to do it, then you will have a torch bearing um, uh, uh, what am I, mob of people at your doorstep, and they'll set fire to your house because you're the one holding us back from world peace.
Yes,
So that's the thing. You're not only fighting the fear mongering media, but then you're also fighting the people who follow it.
yes, yes, that's true. I mean, I'd love for us to just toss all the weapons in a
I would
giant
too.
energy reactor, and
I would too.
that'd be
Annihilate
great.
us all.
Nobody
That
ever
would be
gets
great.
shot again.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you might have some fist fights, but for the most part, people don't die because of violence.
From a well, if you could run away. I mean, I don't want a chaotic. I don't want a chaotic society with no law at all.
No.
Although some people, would like to go to that, I find that a very scary proposition. That's somewhere where I would have to look out. I would have nobody else to depend on, only
Right.
myself for protection, for
Right.
everything.
hmm
I don't like that.
I don't either because I'm not very strong.
I kind of like the socialism factor in that
hmm
community, socialism factor in
Everyone
that I
has
can
something
depend on
out
my
of it.
neighbors and my city and my government to help me out, you
Right.
know?
It's like I could never be an anarchist because I'm a nerd and I like rules. And damn it, if you tell me a rule, I'm going to cite it back to you until we're all blue in the face. If
Yeah.
you tell me that red means stop, but you still go, I'm going to be like, red means stop. Red
hmm
means stop. And so I like rules. Um,
Yes.
they're there for a reason. It keeps us from driving into each other. It keeps us from killing each other, going into other people's houses. There is a reason for rules. I'm a big fan of them.
Well, good
Now,
fences make good neighbors.
they
I
certainly
say
do.
that all the time. Good fences make good neighbors.
They
But when
do.
you allow your blackberries to creep over your neighbor's fence, all of a sudden you're
Well,
not
and
being a very
that's
good neighbor.
that's where rules come in. I mean, that's common courtesy. That's more like what would you call it? A common courtesy. You
Yes.
don't do that. So
That's
that's
very true,
it's
but I still want the ability to go over to my neighbor and tell them off for, allowing them their blackberries to come over onto my property and not have them accuse me of being a terrorist.
right. Don't want that. You know
And
what?
then the police show up and say, well, you shouldn't have confronted them at all. That's, I don't feel like that's the way it should work. You should have the freedom to go over and tell your neighbor, look, your blackberries are getting in my lawn. I don't like that. Oh, I think I'm alone. I think I'm alone
Yeah,
now.
but she'll be back. There she is.
Ah,
exactly. That's what I was thinking.
not so alone now.
I'm back. I got frozen. But yeah, I still like free speech. I mean, we still have the right to cuss at our neighbors, but at the same time, there are consequences. So don't be surprised if you cuss out your neighbors. Don't be surprised if they don't like you anymore.
Yes, free speech. Free speech only goes so far.
Right. I mean, if you end up making enemies out of everyone, you can only blame yourself. So I'm also a big fan of compromise. There's plenty of stuff that people do that I don't like, that annoys me, but I also know that I have to work with people, I have to live with people, that I have neighbors, and I want to foster a good relationship.
Yeah,
Let a
seeing this,
lot of stuff go.
and these are all the kinds of thoughts that we need to confront in ourselves. We need to understand what our platform is and what we're believing in before we go and look at the news, because that's where we're going to look at it from. We're going to look at it from that position, and we're either going to accept it, refute it, or be super offended
Right.
by it,
Hmm.
and then be aware that the news shown to you may or may not be the same thing that's being shown to your black neighbor.
That's true.
Many people of color are presented with news that is entirely different than than people in other areas. The other side of the track.
Hmm.
The other side of the track can be shown things that, show people of color to be scary individuals. And if you already believe that people of color are scary individuals, you have a bias that may or may not be that may or may not be accurate for the news you're watching.
Hmm. Well, and what you see on the media can feed that, because if there are 10 articles about people getting killed, and in 6 of the articles they say a black man shot a white man, but then in 4 of the articles they just say a man shot another man, you're going to remember black. You're going to remember the
Yep.
6 times that a black man shot another man, but you may not realize that, well, those other 4 times it was a white man shooting a white man, or it could be 4 times that a black man shot another. I mean, you're only going to remember it when they say black. And so
And
with
if
the
you
me,
see
huh?
and if you see the mugshot of the
Mm-hmm.
person who, did the shooting, and all you see is this unkempt, this
Right.
past photo with this horrible hair, and the
Grizzly.
ugly and terrible and scary. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you that they have a PhD and they came from
Yeah.
Harvard.
Yeah. All you know is that you see this rattled looking man. And you know what? The man was probably rattled looking because he was probably snatched out of his home by the police. And he's probably been in interrogation all night and
Yeah.
denied denied basic things. And so, of course, he's going to look all messed up when you see him. But all you see is a messed up looking man.
All you see is a messed up looking man of color, and
Right.
that's what you're gonna. And there is your bias.
Exactly. And the world feeds it, unfortunately. At least this country feeds it in many cases. And it's up to each person to recognize that you're being manipulated. You were manipulated from a young age by maybe your parents, or maybe what you saw in the news, or what you heard in the town. You've been manipulated and you're still being manipulated.
Yep. Manipulation is a big, huge thing in news. So huge.
Manipulation. I
So
freaking
huge. So
hate it.
scary.
I freaking hate it. If I feel like I'm being manipulated, I will turn on a person, and you will see my teeth because I will be burying them.
Yeah. And that's why I don't watch Fox News.
Well, and even some of the other news, honestly. I mean, there's bias in even like CNN and stuff like that. So,
Well, there's even bias in BBC. Even if the bias is not blatant racism,
mm-hmm,
or blatant anything,
mm-hmm,
there's still there may be a bias there because you are who you are and they are who they are, and you're looking at it from two different views.
Well, sometimes I feel a little bit of an anti-American bias because I get a little like depressed and embarrassed because I read BBC and they're like, Americans this, Americans that, Trump this, Trump that, and I'm like, oh God, we suck.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's very hard to read that your country is being mean and crappy, but
right.
that's when I have to remember, just like the fact that I don't hold the Russian
No,
citizens. Look, the Russian citizens, you're just Russian citizens to me. If you come over to
right.
this country, all I'm going to say is, oh, you're from Russia. That's interesting.
Okay, yeah.
I have to remember that, yes, I'm an American. But you know what? I've never gone out and shot anybody.
Me neither.
Um, I don't consider people less than I am because
No.
of race, color, background. I'm not a perfect
Religion.
person. I do have bias, but I understand I have those biases. I do my best to overcome them. Um, and I am going to assume that the majority of Americans around me are going to be good people.
Right.
I'm not gonna base my view off of an American just because my government happens to be three-quarters filled with buckheads.
Right. That is temporary. That is just the face of America right now. But this country has deep roots, and for the most part, we're good people.
Yes, we're good. We're getting better all the time.
Right. All right. I think it may be time for me to go. I'm getting tired.
Yes, I think we've probably discussed everything there is to discuss on this. Um, well, thank you all for watching our political and controversial episode on what the fuck is the news showing us now.
Right.
We're so glad that you came and watched us. If you liked us, please rate and subscribe.
Mhm.
I'm Sorceress Zero. You can find me anywhere you can find S0RCERESS0. That's on Twitch, Facebook, Google Plus. Just stick it in Google. You'll find me.
And you'll find right.
SorceressZero.com.
Same thing with me. Put Lola Literacy into Google, and you'll find me 10 times over.
And this episode has been brought to you by GoodVibes.com. Don't forget to visit them. You can find links on lolalaracy.com, and you can find links on sorcererzero.com if you really like the show. This will give us a little bit of support.
Right.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great night. We hope to see you again. Bye.
Thank you.